Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. We're going to talk weddings today. We're going to talk destination weddings and the destination Hawaii today, which has become even more popular among people looking for a destination wedding. And if you're thinking about it, maybe you know somebody who is, or even just kind of pondering the whole situation, wouldn't it be great to just have one person, that point person that can put the whole thing together, take away all the stress, all the challenges of wondering, did I do the right thing? Did I set the right thing up? I found her for you. And she joins us. Simple Kona Beach Weddings. Becky Ringler joins us on the program. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you. It's a beautiful day here in Hawaii, and I'm happy to be here talking about what I love the most. So I'm really glad to be here. Thanks, Steve.
Becky, is there ever not a beautiful day in Hawaii?
I mean, we do have, okay, relatively speaking, there could be a few bad days where we have a terrible storm and it's, and cold here is relative. Although on this island, it does snow, but it snows up in the mountains. Like where people live, it doesn't snow. It could be snowing on the mountain and, 80 degrees at the beach. So we do have some bad days, but I would say like 99% of the time it is beautiful here, like all the
Mm.
time. Yeah.
Now, when we say Kona, what island, just geographically getting everybody plugged in, where you at?
So a lot of people actually don't are very confused. So Hawaii is actually, it's the state of Hawaii, but there are several islands in the state of Hawaii. Um, we're on the big island of Hawaii, the actual island of Hawaii. It is the largest of all of the islands. A lot of times people think that like Oahu, where Honolulu is the big island because there's the most people, but that's actually that and Maui. Those are all in Kauai. Those are our main like popular islands, and those are all much smaller. Um, Kona, the Kona area is on the west coast. So we're on the sunset side. And Kona in general is like Kailua Kona, which is the main town over on the west side, but it sort of spans, there's South Kona where all the coffee is grown, and then there's a North Kona, and then it goes up into some of the hotels, which are all very close. So that's where we're looking at, the west side of the big island of Hawaii.
Hmm. Before we get into what you offer and supporting people that are looking to get married on the Big Island, you're not from Hawaii. Tell us your journey there.
Oh, no. And I touched upon the long journey there on my previous call with Jill, but what I will say is I'm originally from upstate New York. I took a circuitous route to get here, but I am a total summer person. My husband and I did get married here on the Big Island before we moved here, so I have firsthand experience about what it's like to try and plan something from thousands of miles away.
Hmm.
And it was very frustrating for me as somebody who is a planner and pretty organized to feel like I could never get a hold of anybody. It was a great experience to be patient and trust that all would work out. But I wish I'd had somebody like me helping them. So, and we were living in California at the time, but of course, we've been here since 2013. So 12 years now on the Big Island here in Kona. So, yeah, and it's the best move we ever made. But I do understand the East Coast life. I've lived in many places across the country, and I'm I'm here to help make people feel better about their experience. Like they have someone they can trust, someone they can come to get all the things. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yes, I am from the East Coast originally, but I feel very, very much at home here on the Big Island. It's
When you
wonderful.
got there, did you proverbially fall in love with it?
I mean, I had already fallen in love with it. Like when I was a child, I had this fantasy about like the first time I ever saw someone surfing. I was like
Hmm.
3 or 4, and I saw it was in a commercial, and I was like, "Mom, what country is that?" And she's like, "Oh, honey, that's our country. It's probably California or Hawaii." I was like, "I want to go there. That's where I want to be." And of course, it was winter when I was watching this. And I fell in love with like Magnum PI and like all the
Uh,
things that one thinks of when and that's very dated, of course, not everyone knows Magnum, but nonetheless.
what show are you talking about? I don't recall any show with that name.
So but regardless, I love the idea of the tropical living. And of course, the
Hmm.
first time I'd been to a couple of the other islands before I came here. In fact, my first time to the Big Island was when we got married. Um, and regardless, it was just, I felt like home. It feels like home
Gotcha.
to me. Yeah.
Um, I want to share with you before we get into your services. This illustrates what we're talking about, having somebody that you feel connected to and you trust. In another life, I got married in Hawaii. It was the island of Kauai, and it was connected to the hotel. Everything was okay. No major issues, but you had to, like you say, have the faith that it's going to all work out. Got married again, and that was in Barbados, and that was kind of a free for all. I got married on a beach. Um, there was a wedding planner, but really wasn't a wedding planner. And all the pieces I kind of had to do myself,
Yeah.
right down to finding a photographer. The reason I'm bringing this up is we get the pictures back from the photographer. It wasn't that far back. There was digital photography then. They were still using film.
Oh, wow.
The photos contained lots of dust, dirt, and scratches apparently on the negatives. So wasn't great pictures. And that, I'll leave you with that, in terms of trying to put it all together without the point person that's really plugged into all of it. And that is you. So tell us, do you handle everything?
Yeah. So, I mean, there are definitely ways to go cheap here. And I say that it's a relative term because nothing is cheap in Hawaii. But
And thank you for being honest about that.
yeah, yeah. I
Appreciate
mean,
that.
especially, people think, well, because, if you compare it to Mexico, you can get married with a great budget in Mexico and do like everything. You can ride horses on the beach. You cannot do those things in Hawaii. There's a lot of restrictions.
Sure.
Um, and there are lots of people that offer services, but uh, you end up having to do a lot of things yourself. We really specialize, and for me, the most important thing is a real personal connection to people. I always have a Zoom call with everybody who, to make sure we've got a good fit, to make sure we have a good connection.
Sure.
And then I help plan, coordinate, and officiate really intimate beach weddings here. I will do locations other than the beach, of course, but beach is the most popular location for folks. I handle all the permitting, um, get everything set up, help them find their photographer, hair and makeup. I arrange all the flowers if they want any music, and of course, I also perform the ceremony. In another life, I was a professional actress in New York,
Wow.
and I also produced a ton of shows when I was in college at Northwestern. So um, for me, this is all, and I was a marriage and family therapist in California. So all of these skills sort of come together to help. My feeling is I want you to feel like you get on the plane. Hey, at least I don't need to worry about the wedding. Becky has it handled. Uh, 9 times out of 10, we meet ahead of time before the wedding on the beach.
Hmm.
So they can pick their spot. They know where to go. We go over any last minute questions. The only time we don't do that is if it's a real last minute one, they're on a tight schedule, and they have no setup, like no real flower setup or anything, then, it's easy. But otherwise, most of the time we'll meet ahead of time on the beach. And again, sometimes it's not necessary or there's not time, but if there is time, we do that. Um, and so also the nice thing is that we've known each other so that by the time the wedding comes and I'm performing their ceremony, it's not like some stranger is performing your wedding, which is always, I think, generally speaking, kind of a weird thing. To have someone you don't know that
It's
you've just,
intimate. It's intimate.
yeah.
Hmm.
So
You're like the 360 of Hawaiian weddings. Look what you got going on here. Psychologically supported, logistically supported, theatrically supported. Let's be honest, it's a production. Even if it's just two people on a beach, there's a production involved. That things have to go in a certain way, to have success, and you only get one shot at it. Becky, what would you say is the most important thing or most few important things that somebody should keep in mind when planning a destination wedding?
I think the main thing is that there's certain things you cannot control if you're outside, like you
Hmm.
cannot control the weather. I will say the best thing about the Kona side here and the beaches that I tend to use is that it almost never rains on the beach. Like I've done almost 700 weddings and I've only had to
Wow.
change because of rain 3 times ever over the past 10 years. So it's like, it's generally not a concern. But I always like to say be flexible, and I will be flexible with you. We will figure it out. I'm going to get you married. Um, and then the other thing is to realize that if you're getting married in Hawaii, it's going to be a little more relaxed. Um,
Hmm,
Typically, chairs are not allowed on the beach. Not here in Hawaii. If you rent a venue, like at a hotel or something, then you can have chairs. Or if you have a private home that you're renting, you can have chairs. But otherwise, on the beach, you can have chairs, by the way, for someone who is elderly, disabled, or someone who's like injured. We can have chairs for those people. But otherwise, everybody's standing. Um, and generally speaking, arches are not allowed on the beach on the public beaches here in Hawaii. Again, that is a venue item. But I will say that the beaches here are so interesting. There's so many cool trees and like lava features and things that frame the experience that you do not, it's not just a white strip of sand and blue where you might actually need an arch. Like most of the time it is just not necessary. So
sure.
I would say, to be open to what is available actually here in Hawaii. And then it helps have somebody who actually knows what you can and can't do. There are people that will do certain things that are not allowed, but I'm never going to do that with my couples because I don't ever want an official to come by and stop a wedding, which does happen sometimes. And I refuse to do anything where that would ruin your day. So yeah, I think the main thing though is to be also prepared for it to feel really be prepared for it to feel really fun, and relaxed and just like it's supposed to be stress free. That's why one gets married in Hawaii, I think. So
Hmm. And thank you for illustrating that point that there's a reason you're going to Hawaii for the island experience. And what is the island experience? It's chill. It's kind of laid back. There is some formality to it if you want to have that included in your wedding. I know a lot of couples get, and you're an officiant, hung up on the vows. Any suggestions there or any kind of trends and
definitely. I mean, I usually tell my couple so they can either repeat after me and I give them the vows that I usually use, or so they know, or they can write their own. But if you write your own, I always tell my couples keep them short, like a minute to a minute and a half,
mm,
because people write pages and pages of vows. All of a sudden you're really nervous when you're getting married. No matter how happy you are to be marrying your person, it's like these weird nerves happen. And you're like, why did I write so much? Oh my God. Like I have so many, and everyone there, everyone can hardly hear you because you're on a beach with wind blowing. And then it's like a lot of very long space. So I always tell my couples, keep them short and sweet. If you have a lot to say, put them in a letter and give them to your spouse the
mm.
night of the wedding so that you can share those things privately with them at your leisure without a whole group of people staring at you. Even if it's just the two of you, it can still feel pretty long, to have those vows, to read those, because also your partner can't really receive them because they're also nervous. So the shorter, the better. And also keeping them, your personality, if you write your own kind of
Sure.
like, they can be funny, they can be very serious, it depends on your personality. That's the most important things to bring you to the wedding.
And I'm
So,
sure you can, with somebody's request, look them over, maybe make a couple of tweaks here and there, but certainly keep it as, I don't want to say short as possible, but keep it shorter than maybe somebody would. Did I hear you right before, Becky? 700
yeah.
weddings?
Yep.
Wow. Well, that's why you have so many amazing reviews, and that comes from Wedding Wire and a lot of other reputable wedding planning websites. When you first started doing this and you were officiating, maybe even still to the day, do you sometimes tear up?
Oh my gosh, yes. There are times where I'm like, I try not to, just because I'm supposed to be the space holder. But there are times where I am just like, I do cry, or my eyes are watering because it is so beautiful. Like, I mean, I've had moments. I did have a couple. I might even cry when I'm telling the story. I had a couple that um, I was going down to meet them at the beach. And just as I got to the bottom of the hill, I get a call from the bride saying, "Oh, the beach is closed today. We can't," which is a rare occurrence. He was probably there was a shark sighting or something, and they closed certain beaches so temporarily. And she said, "Okay." And I said, "All right, that's fine." And then all of a sudden, I heard all these sirens go by. I was going back up the hill, and then I didn't hear from them later. We were supposed to talk, and I was like, I feel like they got into an accident, like, and they did. They got totally like sideswiped, and they ended up being
Oof.
flown to Oahu. And I was gonna do, the mom called me finally, and she's like, "Can you come to Oahu and do the wedding bedside? They still want to get married." And I bought
Wow.
a plane ticket, and then they ended up coming back to Kona actually, and we did a wedding there. And he was literally like in a chair with his leg broken in 10 places in a neck brace, and she had a walker and a thing, and we were all crying at the wedding because it was like, and they're fine now. They have a baby. They're very happy. I keep in touch with them, but it's um so there are times like that where it's like, oh my gosh, this amazing thing happened, and they're like, this is not a sign that we shouldn't get married. This is a sign that we're going to be together, and it's just really beautiful. So
Nothing
uh,
stops true love.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was really inspiring. And all my, I had to, of course, rearrange the photographer and the musician and everybody like 6 times.
Sure.
Everyone was like, no problem, we'll make it work. And it was really beautiful. And then there's just other times where people just have just so much emotion. It's taken them a long time to get to that point, or they overcame a lot of odds to be there. And it's just really touching. So I feel really like, to me, it's like the favorite thing I've ever done, because to be a
Yeah.
part of someone's moment is spectacular. Yeah.
What a responsibility too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a one-shot deal.
Yeah.
Um, what are some of the most unusual requests that somebody has made?
I did do a Game of Thrones sort of themed wedding once. I mean, it was Hawaiian style, but they were super into the Game of Thrones. So I threw in some special things in their vows for them.
Cool.
They asked for like certain things to be included. I have had people, so I usually often, if there is, sometimes we do a flower heart, which is really popular for people to stand in on the ground with tropical blooms. But I've had people ask
Ooh.
me to make special shapes, for them.
Of
As long as
flowers,
I
using
yeah,
flowers?
yeah, using flowers.
Oh, what a
Assuming I can execute, I will. But most of the time, circle or a heart are the most popular choices. I've made
whoa.
infinity signs. I've had requests for like a dragon or things. I'm like, well, I'm not sure what it would look like that, so maybe we shouldn't. But we try to accommodate, special things. We've incorporated all sorts of surprises for people, or like a surprise gift or rings. I mean, I always say ask, and I mean, I am from New York. I'm going to be honest if we can or can't do something. I'm not going to mince words, and I'm also not going to do a wedding at noon. We will not do weddings in the middle of the day in the main heat with the light is terrible and disgusting. So these
Oh,
are the other things you want to think about your lighting. Um, I mean, I did do one at 2 once. They were about to get on a plane. They called me that morning and they're like, "Can we get married? Is this possible?" And I helped them set up a last minute wedding. And then I will make exceptions for that. But otherwise, I'm going to give you advice on good timing in terms of your photos. Uh, like, you don't want to be hot and sweaty and have terrible lighting on your face and all the things that people don't think about
all
because
you
you're
can
out.
do is advise, and then but I always say the choice is yours. We have a choice. Everything we
That's
do
right.
is a choice. What we do in the next 5 seconds, we made a choice to do that. I love the visual of the flowers and potentially, a heart maybe on the sand. Speaking of sand, I heard this recently, and I don't know if you've done it or even heard of it, but it's where the couple and maybe even family members bring up some sand and then integrate it into one area. So it's like blending of the families.
Yeah, so that is the sand ceremony. We do
Ah,
that upon request. And we have I always offer two choices. They have like sand ceremony kits from Amazon where you can get multicolored sand, and
sure.
then you get a special thing to put it in. And that way everybody's color, like the family member, especially if you're integrating families with kids
Yes.
and they're all coming together. But occasionally people do it and we use beach sand. But if we do beach sand, I have them pour it back into the ocean afterwards because all of our sand has lava in it. And lava is bad luck to take off the island. So you don't want to take sand home.
Ooh.
Typically, people do it all the time, but especially most of our sand contains lava, and lava is just very bad luck to take off island. So I never recommend that because I don't want to jinx anybody's wedding.
Ooh.
So if we do that, then they're very usually those people are very eco-conscious and they're like, yeah, let's just blend the sand and then we'll pour it back in because once it gets in the ocean, it's also all part of it can have a lot more symbolic meaning that way too. But um, yeah, it's a really cool ritual. And if they do take it home, we always try to get a really good picture before because even though you have a good lid for it, once you get on the plane, you
You know,
know, the
yeah.
sand just mixes.
And you're not going to see those beautiful uh, divisions, but
Right.
blended divisions
Yeah.
of the sand. You're just talking about bad luck. Brought me back to that almost final episode of the Brady Bunch
Yes, the Brady
with the
Bunch.
with the
Yep.
tiki.
Yep. And Mr. What's his name's Kate. My husband always talks about that. And then the tarantula went into Marsha's bag.
Yes.
Um, and
But
so,
it was all about the thing that I think either Greg or Bobby was wearing.
yeah. Yes. Yep.
Probably
Exactly.
lava, made out of lava.
I always think of that. I'm like, it was probably the lava, but the post office actually is filled with lava. People send their lava back. They take
Mm.
it, like, I'm sorry, I didn't believe it. And there's like all these notes, and that's a real thing here.
Well, maybe that's why my first wedding done in Hawaii didn't last. I brought back sand, didn't even know. I don't know. You never know. What about elopements?
Yeah, I do those all the time. They're really fun. I love doing elopements. Um, and they can be as like ornate or as simple as you want. I like to say, because I have some elopements where they do everything. They have a musician, they do all the things. They have their bouquet because they want it to be like a really special experience just for them. And
Mm,
then I have people that are eloping and it's like next week, and they just want to get married on the beach in Hawaii. And no matter what, we'll make it really special,
sure.
depending on how. Um, my goal is it all the time after a ceremony, people are like, this is so much more than I was expecting. Like, this was so much more meaningful. But to me, it's a very sacred moment, and I want to make sure that you feel like that. My ceremony, of course, I have a ceremony that I use, but it's always customized a little bit to the couple or to their energy. Like, sometimes I make jokes, and sometimes it's very serious. Like, just depends. Like, you have to read what they need, um, and the tone of it. And it's elopements are super fun. I love doing
Mm,
them. Actually,
wow.
it's yeah,
Sacred moment says everything.
yeah,
It really
yeah.
does. And sacred and special doing it in Hawaii. Final question. Can you support somebody? You're not a travel agent, as far as I know, but can you support somebody with suggestions of where to stay? Let's say, you have
Oh,
family
definitely.
in and they want to do maybe a small reception at a venue somewhere.
So that's also part of the thing that I do. In terms of like where to stay, I can give them recommendations based on what they're looking for. Do they want a resort experience? Are they looking to rent a home? So I can guide them in the best areas to do that. Um, but in terms of the after party, I like to say that I generally help most of my couples arrange their post-wedding celebration. Sometimes it's just making a reservation for them. But in the custom weddings, I will help them arrange private dinners at various locations. Most of my couples are not looking for the full reception, like with dancing and all the stuff. They just want like a really nice dinner
Sure.
in a special experience. And so I have really good relationships with a lot of those places that offer that. And I help them set everything up so that it's um, as smooth and easy as we go over their various choices based on their budget and what they're imagining. And then I reach out to see who's available, and then I connect them all to book. Um, and it's just a really lovely experience from start to finish. And I feel like it's just really fun to be able to help people just create a whole thing where they still have choices, where they still feel cared for, where it still feels like them. But it's easy and stress-free. So
I
it's
envy
really
you. I think it's just feels so wonderful doing it where you are and so many different options and so beautiful and just majestic and sacred. And you make it easy. Now I get why you call it simple Kona beach weddings, because you make it simple on the back end. Maybe it's not so much. We don't need to know that. You're taking care of that. Best way to find you, your website is it what I think it is?
it is simple Kona Beach Weddings with an S.com. So that's the best way to find me.
Wow. Becky, wonderful talking with you. Thank you for all the insight. If we get a chance to get together again, I would love to go into trends and all those different things. We talked about the sand ceremony, but we can go anywhere. And you can hear and see this podcast anywhere on the planet. Hawaii, beautiful, perfect wedding or elopement, and vow renewal. We didn't even hit
Yes,
that.
vow renewals. I do vow renewals as well, and it's really fun.
Love
So
it.
I love it as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Steve. I appreciate it.
We'll
Aloha.
be we'll be right. Aloha. Oh, look at you. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.